Samantha Singh says those who died in the crash were heroes and that continuing their work would be the best homage to them. Rescue operations have been underway since the floods hit more than a week ago. The military is still trying to reach many areas cut off by the rising water.
Yeah, it is, but bad weather has hampered much of the rescue efforts. Our senior international correspondent Nick Robertson has more on that.
More than a week on the mountainside, help finally at hand. India's Air Force rescuing stranded pilgrims. They come, young and old, to pray at ancient Hindu Himalayan shrines and found only hardship. Uttarakhan, 62 years old, the desert state of Rajasthan, tells us the first 2 days are the worst. No one to help us. Getting shelter was expensive, adding, I won't be bringing my family back again. This lady too suffered most in the first 2 days before the army arrived. Then we were well taken care of, she says. But the roads were washed away and we couldn't leave. Their prayers for rescue only answered now by a break in the weather. But the weather could worsen and others are waiting.
We have been able to evacuate almost 10 to 11,000 personnel using our helicopters. And therefore, the numbers of people stranded as is available to us has reduced to around 6,000 now.
In the past 8 days
Ganga.
since the deluge dubbed here as
See
the
the Ganga overflood.
low cloud and rain have been intermittently grounding air crews. The Indian Air Force, constrained by the conditions, setting up mountainside air traffic control, forced by broken roads to fly fuel in by plane.
We flew in our Bowsers and we flew in C-130, which landed here for the first time during this operation, offloaded fuel from the wing tanks into the Bowsers, from which we fueled the helicopters.
Below the frantic rescue flights in the deep wooded valleys, too soon to know the full cost of the tragedy. But official estimates already say this popular tourist area has been put in a $500 million hole. And for those lucky enough to be plucked off the mountain, the government is putting them on planes. It's almost the end of the journey for these people. Home, the next stop once they get on the plane here. But this, just the tip of the iceberg. And so many more thousands of people waiting for the help to get home. And all of them in this area known as the land of the gods, praying the good weather holds a little longer. Nick Robertson, CNN, Rishikesh, India.
Let's get an update now on the weather conditions for India. Meteorologist Anguibaro joins us from the CNN.
Over the next few days, and so the rescues that have been underway are going to be underway in very treacherous conditions. In fact, at times, too much for the helicopters to handle, and you have the tragic accidents that we just talked about here. Look at the mountainside here. This is what people have been having to do. These are the ones that have not been plucked, that are working their way down the mountainside, and then some pictures here from inside the aircraft. Once the lucky ones do get on board, this is what they have to contend with here, getting some medical attention there, needed certainly with this. I mean, you can imagine these people getting stuck up there. You're walking through debris from landslides. You're going to have injuries that occur just as a result of that. And then by the time you get down, if you don't get down by plane, look at this. Some folks coming down from the mountain and then to piles of rocks surrounded by raging floodwaters. I mean, just not to be dramatic, but the scene has just been that across northern India, and you can expect that when you get 400% of normal rainfall. That is what they've had, 1,030 millimeters, and we're not done with June yet, and normally the entire month only gets 200 millimeters. In case in point here, in the last 24 hours, that very area received 120 millimeters in just a day. So those are the kind of numbers. Those are the kind of numbers we've been talking about over the last several weeks. And then further to the south, there you see some important numbers as well. 193 millimeters. So torrential rain will continue. We talked about this monsoonal low, and then of course here to the north in Uttarakhan, the hardest hit area, where you have then the terrain to deal with as well.